Good. Welcome, everybody, to our regular public council meeting for Monday, April 5th, 2021. I will call our meeting to order. First item of business is new business. And I will start with Councillor Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going to do a thanks.
Thanks. Councillor Pollard.
Pass.
Pass. Councillor Roach. Pass. Councillor Martin.
Congratulations and thank you.
Congrats. Thanks. No. And I have a thanks and regrets from Deputy Mayor and Councillor Thorengas. Any questions submitted, Ann, for the first Q&A? Okay, thank you. Could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excuse me.
What?
There's a change, one small change to the agenda is the addition of the motion
Okay.
relating to the holdback, and that'll be under admin and finance.
All right, no problem.
It's not specifically identified in the agenda anyway, but
Yep, that's fine. Okay. Man and Finance, it's just an amendment to your motions report, I would imagine. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Just remind anybody, if you have any questions for the second Q&A session, you can send your emails into apico@torbay.ca, and we'll try and fit them in towards the end of the meeting, and we'll try our best to answer your questions. If not, we will get back to you. So, first item here is regular public council minutes from March 22nd. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please?
so moved. Second.
Moved, seconded. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Unanimous. Proclamations, presentations, there are none. Q&A, there are none. Mayor's report, I'll just give a quick report. First is, it's on the, I have an email somewhere, but myself and acting CAO Pico had a meeting with Canada Post last week to discuss the letter that we had sent in requesting some information and extension to the consultation process, and some suggestions that we made to look at them altering or running some type of hybrid operations. We had a good meeting. I sent an update to council, and I reached out to them again on Friday to see if they had an update on any of the items that we had discussed. We did discuss potential of them looking for a different space within the core of the town, I guess for lack of a better word. And I did reach out to a property owner here in the middle of town that usually has rental space available, and they did not have any at this time. So I told Canada Post I would do that on their behalf and see if that we could shake anything loose. And I reported to them on Friday that was not successful, and asked if they would give us an update on the other items with regard to, we had raised about the safety of the new location, potential to expand the old one, hybrid model, looking at a few other things, and they had not brought that. Oh, and the other one was extending the consultation process, and also communicating out to all the customers of Canada Post instead of just having a poster up. And they committed to bring that back, and they had a meeting on Friday, and I'll expect to hear from them at some point this week, and when I do, I'll send an update to council, and then we'll update the residents at our next council meeting similarly. So I guess to make a long story short, we're continuing on as the town, trying to get the issues that residents have raised with us, with Canada Post. They're very receptive to meeting with us and getting back to us in timely fashion, so that's good. And they did raise the issue of the safety of the current situation with regards to their employees and stuff. So I guess the decision has not been made yet, but we will keep, I guess, advocating on behalf of the town and for our residents until the time that decision is made, and then we'll see where we go from there. And I think that the planning department may have received something from them in the interim. Do we, Julia?
Could you repeat the question?
Have we received something from Canada Post to the planning department regard to their new location yet?
An inquiry, yes, so we're in process of
Yeah.
dealing with that.
I suggested that they do that sooner rather than later, so
Yes.
that we can look at the potential issues around that area. So,
Yeah, yeah,
all right, thank you.
thanks.
I have a thank you card here from Ovarian Cancer Bells with Balls, Newfoundland, to council for our support with our donation that we made. So, I thank them for sending that. I'll just pass that along. And we have our birthdays for the month of April. Happy birthday, Councillor Pollard. I won't tell anybody how old you are. You're older than me. You're older than me. We'll just put it that way. And, and I wasn't here last meeting, so I will extend a belated birthday wish to Councillor Thorngoss, whose birthday was in March. So that. All right. Anybody have any questions on any of that stuff? All right, seeing none, we will move on to the next item. We have correspondence here from the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. It's an information circular around engineering requirements, tender amendments, bidding processes, etc. We will forward that on to Planning and Public Works, I guess, to have a look. Maybe Public Works is more apt for that. Okay. Committees of Council. Committee to hold meeting minutes from March 29th, 2021. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please?
So moved.
Moved
Second.
and seconded. Any errors or omissions? None? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The record show unanimous. Thank you. Planning Land Use Development. Councilor Martin.
Thank you. These are attached to our motions report as well as meeting minutes from our March 30th meeting. In attendance were myself, Councillor Thorngoss, Director Shorts, excuse me, and Deputy Mayor Appleby adjoined to observe items 1 to 3. First one, excuse me. First order of business is Kennedy's Brook Amendment to Phase 1 subdivision, agreement development of 2 additional lots, associated land swap and open space conveyances, Bournes Holdings Limited. So the town is in receipt of a written request and associated engineering drawings as submitted by Bourne Holdings, requesting an amendment to the existing Kennedy's Brook Phase 1 subdivision agreement. And they would like to add 2 additional lots, facilitated by an associated exchange of approximately 1092 meters squared, town-owned property for approximately 9,186 meters squared of open space land currently in Bourne Holdings ownership, as well as an associated conveyance of a 3-meter wide walkway right away within the 15-meter buffer of the brook connecting Clare's Place to the meadows east of Bourne's Close. Attached is a detailed report and plug committee minutes are also attached for reference to form part of this motion report. And the recommendations that the committee discussed the associated background report was in general support of the proposed amendment to the Phase 1 agreement, as well as the associated land exchanges and conveyances, and requested this matter be forwarded to the upcoming public meeting of council with a recommendation for approval. The committee requested that Director Shorts consult with Director Winter to clarify the responsibility for the actual construction of the walkway, as well as to ensure that the walkway in the area is developed in concurrence with the town's recreation master plan and long-term strategy for walkway development. And there is a brief update there before I get into the motion. And further to that meeting on March 30th, both directors consulted and discussed the April 1st matter. Both departments note the developer has agreed to construct the walkway to Grand Concourse standards, which is seen as a great opportunity for the town to connect this neighbourhood to Torbay Road and in future to the Jack Byrne Arena, subject to the town's engineering consultants inspecting walkway constructions. Both departments did concur in recommending that the town proceed as proposed by the developer and see the walkway constructed as part of the proposed amendment to the agreement. So based on this motion, the following motion is tabled. Motion whereas to amend and add a minimum to the Kennedy's Brook Phase 1 subdivision development agreement so the developer could add 2 additional residential lots in the Bourne's Close cul-de-sac. This is being facilitated through point 1, the exchange of approximately 1,098 meters squared of town-owned property for approximately 9,186 meters squared of open space land currently in Bourne Holdings ownership. Bullet 2, the conveyance of a 3-meter wide walkway right-of-way from Bourne Holdings to the town, connecting Clare's Place to the meadow east of Bourne's Close. Bullet 3, the developer constructing a 2-meter wide walkway by the Grand Concourse standards with a said walkway right-of-way, and that bullet 4, all costs associated with the proposed changes to the subdivision agreement, including land conveyances, walkway constructions, and inspections, are that of the developer. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Councillor Glant?
Yes, I know we've been talking about this for a little while, and again, I remember back in the day I was one of the people that was very pro land instead of money, in case you might remember that. And with specifically knowing that in the future you could actually do land swaps, and this could actually help piece together the puzzle and adhere to a plan. So again, as I said before, in principle, I think this is a very good thing. However, my concern is every time we've talked about this, I was like, well, where are the details? Where's this more specific details? And it was, I told you I felt a little rushed on a couple of things. I understand that there's development pressures. Of course, we've got pressures to make sure that the town overall kind of stewards of the town, right? So I can see the map there, but I guess I'm wondering the detail of that. Like, I know we tried to do a site visit when it was snowing, and people didn't actually get down there, and it was treacherous to do all that. And specifically, I guess the detail I was concerned about, I wanted to see how this was going to be. Like, how much is that going to cost the developer? Because it's kind of, just like we're talking about, holdbacks for different developers, right? Whether that be, for facilities or for roads or anything like that, and just standard way of doing business thing. So if we build those lots with it, is it just kind of, hey, we're gonna build this Grand Concourse standards? What happens if it comes back and that price of standard is 4 times the estimate? Like, it doesn't even say what the estimate could possibly be. I guess I'm concerned that we're going to move with this. Something weird's going to happen, right? Prices are going to skyrocket for materials or whatever, and then this won't get done, and then the developer's going to be put in a weird position where it's not going to be, they're going to be paying more than what they expected to pay, and of course once we pass over the land and they build a house, like, it's not like we can take the house back, right? Nor would we want to. But I wanted to see more details around this, and I don't see the details that I was looking for.
Councillor Glenn, you have the opportunity to view the documents that the developer enclosed.
I think so. It's here, the
PDF, page 46 of 127.
Yeah, no, I see a map. Yeah, page 47.
There's a drawing, and 46 there's a brief synopsis of what they've also did.
Yep.
To provide for the amendment to phase 1. billing agreement.
Yeah, no, I see that here, but I don't see any, I don't see any commitment for actual monies, you know. If, do you know what I mean? Like, this seems like more of a handshake type of deal that we're gonna be, you know, for hundreds of thousands of dollars type of deal, right? So I wanted estimates as to, you know, how much, they say, hey, we're gonna put up to the Grand Concourse standard, but I feel a bit, without the details behind that, like, when are they gonna do it? How much are they gonna spend on it? Like, what's, you know, like that, those types of details is kind of lacking. This kind of, hey, spend over and we're gonna, you know, give us the lots and we're gonna do that later on at a different time. And again, nothing for the developer. I'm just saying, as people who oversee these types of things, it behooves us to get those details in writing, right? Say, hey, well, this will be completed within 2 years, within 1 year, to a maximum of $500,000, to, you know, or whatever, right? Just whatever happens to be. But I just don't see any details other than, hey, we're gonna swap the land and we're gonna owe you one trail. Like, when's it gonna be started? When's it gonna be completed?
Director
I just
Short,
don't want this to be a drag on for years and there's an issue and then it doesn't get done for whatever reason, right? So the developer goes out of business. You know,
Director Short,
something like
do you
that.
have any information you'd like to contribute offhand to Councillor Glant's queries?
So I did go and inquired about a cost estimate from the Grand Concourse Authority and relayed that information to the proponent. They have committed to constructing the walkway, but they did wish to obtain an alternate cost estimate to do the work. In speaking with Director Winter, it was agreed that if the work is inspected by an engineer, then the quality of the workmanship can be ensured. The proponent here right now is looking to convey probably 8 to 9 times the size of land in exchange for the property that the town currently owns at the front of the Bourne's Close cul-de-sac, plus convey the walkway and construct the walkway. So this was seen as being very much sufficient in the town's interests. And in light of this having been an issue now for the last, or request now for the last half year, this was brought forward to the committee with the request from the proponent now, as they have a couple of people interested in purchasing the land. So that's kind of where we're standing right now. The quality of the workmanship, and you know, that would all be embedded in the agreement, that it has to be Grand Concourse standards, and that it would need to be inspected by the town's engineer, and that's how we would ensure the quality. The site has not been inspected because it was snowed in up to now, so the construction details haven't been finalized, right?
Yeah, see, and that's exactly my concern. Again, I know it's great work, and you know, it's been ongoing for a while. Again, not that it has anything to do with it. It's one of those logical fallacies. You know, the longer you do something, like, hey, well, you got to do it eventually. No, that's not the case. But if it's important enough to, if there's urgency that this needs to be done on the, say, the developer side, if it's important enough to do this and bring this forward, then it's important enough to include those details now, right? And this is the thing that I was concerned about. That we're saying, okay, well, there's no start date, no completion date. There's an estimate. There's going to be a dispute for how much it's going to be. Things haven't been looked at. The details aren't here. And again, in principle, I'm okay with this, right? This is part of the reason why we take land instead of, you know, it's a couple $1,000s up front. But it'd be irresponsible of us to pass this without any of the details, right?
Well, to your point, I think it's difficult to, if we want to wait until we do every agreement or accept every proposal, only in the summertime when you can see land, and to me, this is a commitment from the developer to do this work. So I really don't see.
But when we deal with other businesses in the town, we do bonds, we do holdbacks, we do deposits. We have start dates, we have end dates, we have estimates, right? That's what I'm saying. Again, I like it in principle. So hopefully, if they're listening, don't take me wrong. But there's no details in here that we need for, you know, for hundreds of thousands of dollars of town resources, right? And so yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is important stuff, guys. We need the details.
Councillor Roach, go ahead. Put your microphone on, please.
one on the right.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
All right, from what I understood from the time I've been on council, that the actual deal would be two people who are building or, subdivisions or whatever and having large lots and all that stuff, they would be able to convey over to the town. I think it was approximately 10%, is it?
Yeah.
There was a limit. There was either 10 or whatever it was percent, either in cash or in land. And so I think, as far as what I know about this from hearing it and not being on your committee or anything like that and being at council meetings, that they have done that. The only thing is we don't have a picture of it yet or anything like that. But, so I don't think we did this to everybody else in the past, to be nitpicking.
All right, Councillor Grant, you've already...
It's a separate thing. You should correct us around this.
Well,
That's not what we're talking about.
I'll deal with that.
I'm sorry.
This one, actually, Councillor Roach, you're right about the 10% when you're looking at a subdivision development.
Yeah.
This one is just a amendment to the agreement of the original one. And I think that what we're doing is the land that we had been given in the first phase, it's a small little portion of land, it's like about an acre, 1,000 meters squared. It's not even a half acre. It's very small. And they're going to exchange that to us for 9,000 square meters of open space. So it's really a good deal for us, in my opinion.
It is, and thank you for the clarification, because I do get mixed up sometimes.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Councillor Pollard?
Yeah, and I'm on the same mind as Councillor Gallant, I guess mainly on this one. I think it's great. I looked at it and said, hey, fantastic. We're getting a swap of, 1,000 square meters, whatever it is, for 10,000 square meters of land. And I'm assuming that 10,000 square meters of land has less utility from a development perspective than the 1,000 we're trading off. But I don't mean that in any negative way. I'm assuming that, that's a nice piece of wildlife reserve or whatever it might be down the road. The question I should know the answer to, but I've got to ask it, I suppose, is when a development is put forward, there's usually a deposit put in for the cost of development or estimate of cost of development. I don't know if we use 100% or 50% of what the cost of a development may be in terms of some type of guarantee, but I would expect that the cost of this new arrangement should be worked out as if it was an original proposal and we had those same securities that would be in place under the amendment based on the change.
So right now, this particular phase is basically past the stage 1 approval, so it's basically waiting for the second course of asphalt. So the all securities for the stage 1 would already be in place. So to tie into what Councillor Roach was saying is that one small piece of land that basically they're looking to get from us, from the town, was a portion of that 10% open space allowance. So there was when that agreement was signed, there was a combination of open space and cash in lieu for that open space. So it was both, and it included that duck pond. Everybody calls it a duck pond area. This particular parcel that they're looking to get from the town now, and cash in lieu. So right now, there wouldn't be any additional infrastructure cost to this. There's no additional infrastructure being constructed outside of that they've agreed to adding the walkway. To that, we wouldn't collect that money in cash. It's basically like a cash in lieu. It's basically really the exchange for a percentage of open space, really for a larger percentage. Plus, of course, they're offering the walkway on top of that because they're looking to obtain that piece of land and get their 2 extra lots, right?
Well, sorry, and I know we're only supposed to get one chance to speak to it and everything else, but I guess the cost of the trail has to be secured against this development somewhere along the way. We just can't say, yes, we accept this and your word. Not that anybody's word is not good enough, but that's not the way towns have to do business at the end of the day, that the cost of that trail, I mean, that could be substantial. I mean, that has to be form part of the infrastructure and be part of that development, and we should have those securities the same way we would for any original infrastructure that came in place. Right, so I just want to make sure that we're covered off at the end of the day to exactly what Councillor Gallant was saying too, in terms of we don't want to be in a situation where this goes ahead, we've got a situation where we've got a trail guaranteed and end up having to fight for that trail somewhere down the road. There should be a guarantee built into this whole subdivision. As if this came in originally, we would have looked at it and said, okay, the whole cost of infrastructure is $1 million, we're going to, so you got to put up some $1 million worth of security or $500,000 of security, whichever way our town plan or our policies work at this point in time. And I wish I had that off the top of my head, and I don't.
But in general, that can certainly be dealt with as part of the legal agreement. So the construction of the walkway and the release of the stage 2 securities can certainly be tied to the construction of the walkway. So same as other proposals where a developer looks for total completion, you would basically say you have to complete A, B, C, D, E before we release these funds. So that will be the purpose of the it's not, addendum, like it would be dealt with as an addendum, but as an amendment to the existing agreement that will then say the developer is conveying this larger piece of land in exchange for the smaller piece of land. The developer agrees to conveying the walkway right-of-way, as well as agrees to constructing the walkway to Grand Concourse standards. And then upon completion, and once the developer reaches total completion, then that will be inspected, and then the town will release securities in place in accordance with agreed upon schedule.
Okay, so we already got securities in place. That's what your question.
Does that agreement come back to council for approval?
The intent was to, based on the motion on the table right now, is to phrase the agreement in accordance with those conditions. However, we can certainly bring it back if you want to review the details. It wasn't planned on, but if you wish so, we can certainly do that.
I moved that we defer this.
No, but we still have to approve this first, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the other thing is that detailed engineering drawings and, plot plan surveys haven't been prepared. So the intent behind all of this is that it gives the developer some assurance that they can proceed, as well as then we can engage our lawyers and request that they prepare this addendum to the agreement and to reflect council's, we can certainly reflect today's conversation as conditions in the agreement.
Okay. All right, I think that covers us off.
I was just going to say, in case anyone was too shy to say this, I'm okay with this, but I move that we defer this until we come back with greater details and just to Councillor Powell's point, just some details around that, so we have all our bases covered for this. So anyway, I move to defer this till next week, so we can get some more details.
So moved. Or second, sorry.
All right, moving to second. Any comment to this deferral?
Yeah, I'll just say again, this I'm good with the principle of this, right? But without, like as Tony said, without the details behind this, we're going to be setting ourselves up for potential issues, right? And again, if it's important, it's just providing the numbers so that we give some assurances to what's going to be done and when it's going to start, when it's going to end, and we got to. This is a serious thing. Like, we have to make sure that we have all these. We can't just casually just pass this off because we want this to happen. We really need to make sure those things are in place before we say yes. Because once we say yes, it's going to be too late, right? Anyway, that's my little plea for it. But again, if this goes back around with good numbers, I'll be for it.
Anyone else?
I'm essentially of the same mind. I don't want to delay this. I mean, if this is something that's really going to delay the developer or something, I don't want this to stop it. I just want to see the information package so that, I'm satisfied that the costs are covered. And, maybe I should look at policy in advance of this too, just to see. So,
Councillor Roach,
I
or,
was just going to ask, is it all right to ask, yes, how long do you think they would be able to get a spec like that for us to go over? The
Say again?
developers and the owners and whatever, whoever is doing it, you know? And like, how long would that take to produce the documentation that we'd like to see?
Okay, and that was gonna be my,
I have my opinion, but I mean, you know, just the same, I think we have to go about it the right way and be safe about it. And so, you know, I'd like to see that too. And but I don't want to hold it up. You know what I mean? If it's going to be a month, I think if they got to have drawings somewhere. You know.
so that was my question. What exactly is it that you're looking for? There are drawings attached in the package. So are you looking, can you specify, like, what additional information are you looking for? Like the draft addendum, like to actually be presented with the draft agreement?
Well, I'm looking for the more specific numbers, and just so everyone is reminded, I'm not springing this on everyone now, hey, I want some more details. Every time we talk about this, I said I wanted specific details, specifically around, hey, we're going to build this walkway to Grand Concourse standards. And so my concern there was, like you said, we're going to get an estimate, and then someone's going to have a second estimate, and there's going to be disputes between how much it's going to cost and how much it's going to do. We need some type of estimates in writing about this is going to happen, and get the appropriate deposits and have those appropriate deposits on paper so that we can see it, so we understand that it's agreeable, right? And that a start date and an end date, like we need some like as Tony said, we need some assurances how this is going to go, and that's the need. I would like to see more than just a drawing and saying, hey, we're going to get there's going to be a trail put there someday. That's not how we're supposed to do business. And again, I asked for this months ago as we went through, so I'm not springing this on anybody. This is not a delay. If there's delays being caused here now, it's going to be a delay that the details aren't here in front of us right now. So that's unfortunate, but I think we can wait 2 weeks to get some details and get some assurances, and so everyone's clear and everyone's on the same page. The town's on the same page, the developers on the same page, but actually what's going to get there and what the expected costs are, and they're agreed to, and then we do that, right? That's how we do it.
Okay.
That's how it should be done.
anybody else? Justin, go ahead.
I'll just say that, I'll support it. Everyone wants more information. I've got no problem doing that. But I do want to acknowledge that both the developer and the planning department have put quite a bit of energy into all this. So, I don't anticipate that there would be any issues or deficiencies or anything moving forward. But, for the sake of information, I'll support to move it. But I just want to make sure, Director Shorts, you have an understanding. So, Councillor Glant, I hear you want 2 quotes from the developer as well as securities information. I just want to make sure that we have it all in preparation of our meeting next week. Just if you kindly reconfirm what you're asking.
Yeah, and again, we can talk offline, or come to the committee to be more specific with the thing. I'm not trying. There's a lack of details around the construction of the walkway. So
Okay.
we need that, other than just a qualitative thing, right? So you need a quantitative thing. It needs to be in writing.
All right, I got some comments that I want to make.
Mayor, if I could just finish.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know this was brought to council quite a while back, so I know as with any other proposal, we always welcome council as well to come to committees if there's any room for questions. And if any member of council would like to come to our meeting next week, they're more than welcome to do so we can kind of have a better establishment going forward. That's all for me.
I think the issue that I have, I'm against deferring this. When I look at this, what we are being asked to do here is we're being asked if this concept is acceptable to council, to trade the small piece of property for a larger piece of property so that the developer can move ahead, build these 3 houses. We're looking at, they're building 3 houses. And they're going to convey a big piece of property to us and put a trail down through it. So it's a concept. Yes, we can go back to them afterwards and say, could you provide us more details about the trail, where it's going to go, where exactly it's going to be. But now we're going to add additional costs to this developer, engineering, without any kind of assurance from the town that we're willing to accept this proposal. Because that's what I'm looking at. I mean, if we get a subdivision development proposal that comes in from somebody, they're going to develop 20 lots, and they're going to give us so much green space, and they're going to put, the roads are going to be kind of here, and this, that, and the other thing. We agree that that proposal is acceptable. And then further down the road, the next thing when you get into your development agreement is where you put in these extra things. Okay, show us your engineering, because now you have a reasonable expectation from the town that you're willing to move forward with this, and the developer is willing to spend the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars on additional engineering and consulting fees, knowing that at the end of the day, they're going to be able to move forward with their project. So that's kind of where I'm to with this. It's pretty clear that they're agreeing to build us a walkway up to the Grand Concourse standards, which is what we've been building for the town. And they are agreeing in here that all the costs associated with that is going to be, and the changes to the agreement, everything is going to be bound by them. So there's no cost to us whatsoever. We still have the holdbacks or the assurances in place for that particular subdivision. It's kind of not, it's finished, but it's not finished, because they have room to put 3 more houses in that subdivision, basically, is what we're agreeing to. So, it frustrates me that we're going to go back now after and say, well, yeah, we agree to all this, but we want you to go do all this extra work first before we are going to agree. So it's kind of, you understand what I'm saying? Like, they're agreeing to do these things. So, it's a deal between the town and this particular developer, where we're going to get 9 times as much property to preserve as a green space down through that valley, and we're going to get a trail on top of it. So, I'm just, it's very perplexing for me.
Are you finished?
Does anybody else want to, everybody's spoken to this already. Back to you.
I've spoken to it once, yeah.
Sorry, Councillor Roach.
Oh, no, you go right ahead, sir, because I'm not supposed to speak now.
Sorry.
When he
No.
says.
Yeah, and again, I agree and all this kind of stuff, but this is part of the responsibility that we have to sit in these chairs, right? This is, we need the details. We're exchanging some stuff there, right? Like, we're going to give you this, you give us that. Except that we need to know the value and the numbers. When we're exchanging something, and I don't know the value of what we're going to give them X and they're going to give us Y, but we don't know how much that actually translates into monetary. Like, it just makes me very nervous. And again, this is some of the details asked for months ago, and they're not here. And I'm wondering why they're not here. It should be really easy to drum those things up. It's very important. And again, I'm okay with it, but but if it comes back that trail is going to cost $500,000, they're not going to put it in to Grand Coast standards, right? We need some.
But why do we care how much the trail is going to cost?
Because
they're going to pay.
Because they're not going to. There'd be a dispute. They're not going to. The people aren't going to pay. Anyway, if it's no big deal, then it's no big deal to come up with a number, right? Anyway, look forward to
Call a
getting this
question.
done.
All in favor of deferring this motion? Opposed? Carried.
I think that we're starting now with a precedent that people or builders of the future will be saying, well, they're no good to do business with because they don't trust anybody. So, I think,
All right,
that you're going
so-
off on left field.
Are you withdraw my motion?
The original motion, do we have to vote on that now, or we already just passed the motion to defer it?
The original motion we can withdraw if
Okay.
council's in agreement.
All right, so we're going to withdraw the original motion. Is unanimous on that?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so we can do that. Thank you. Back to you.
Okay, item 2. Release of securities and certificate of total completion for Forest Landing Phase 6 Marathon Holdings Limited. So background on this one, the town of Torbay is in receipt of a request by Marathon Holdings to release Stage 2 engineering securities and issue a certificate of total completion for Phase 6 of the Forest Landing subdivision. Land conveyances and warranties are in place, and a final inspection has been completed. With the exception of a minor deficiency, all matters have been addressed to the town's satisfaction, and the town's in a position to process this request. And committee recommends considering the background information provided by the department. Committee recommends releasing the majority of the Stage 2 refundable engineering deposits held by the town for Phase 6 Forest Landing subdivision is released to Marathon Holdings, minus a holdback to cover a deficiency and any outstanding balance that Marathon is owing to the town. And for the Planning and Development Department to issue a certificate of total completion and to release the remaining holdback to Marathon Holdings once Marathon has corrected the deficiency to town satisfaction and that all legal and engineering costs associated with the land conveyances and inspections are that of the developer. Committee recommends the following motion as presented. Motion to release to Marathon Holdings the majority of Stage 2 engineering deposits for Phase 6 Forest Landing subdivision minus a holdback to cover a deficiency and any outstanding balance that Marathon is owing to the town. And once Marathon has corrected the deficiency to the town's satisfaction, for the town to release the remaining holdback to Marathon Holdings and to issue a certificate of completion. This is based on the existing agreement in effect and based on all legal and engineering costs associated with the land conveyances, and final inspections are that of the developer. So moved.
Second.
Over to second. Our questions?
Right, yeah, so this is developer committed to doing work. We took a holdback, they completed the work, we released the money.
Right.
Standard, perfect.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. Item 3, 615 Bonding Line, proposed regional plan, municipal plan and development regulation amendment. Existing designation, zoning rural, to proposed designation, zoning residential and residential infill. Town of Torbay is in receipt of a proposal to subdivide property and develop an additional single dwelling north of the existing home at 615 Bowling Line. Subject property is on service with an existing single dwelling and is designated in zone rural in accordance with the regional plan, municipal plan and development regulations to be able to accommodate the proposed subdivision and permanent residential use. A regional plan, municipal plan and development regulation amendment is required. The subject property is also 330 meters of an existing farm. Hence, the proposal was referred to a number of provincial government departments for review and commentary. This matter was previously considered by Council in 2017, and Council resolved to proceed with approaching the Minister in November of 2017. However, at that time, the proponent did not proceed. A renewed request was received from the proponent on January 29, 2021. A detailed background report and Planning and Land Use Development Committee minutes are attached for reference to form part of this motion, and the recommendation as follows is the committee concurs with the department and recommendation that the proposed regional plan, municipal plan and development regulation amendment for the existing property at 615 Bowling Line and outlined on attached location map is tabled at tonight's meeting, with the recommendation to contact the minister regarding the proposed amendments and to request being able to proceed with the associated consultation process subject to the proposed meeting the conditions outlined by the provincial government departments as attached, and the amendment processing fee submitted by the proponent and associated perimeter survey cost being that of the proponent. So therefore, the committee tables the following motion, and motion as presented is motion to contact the Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Municipalities regarding a proposed regional amendment at 615 Bowling Line, requesting to be able to proceed with the associated consultation process subject to the amendment fee being submitted by the proponent in advance and associated perimeter survey cost being that of the proponent. So moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded. Questions?
Is this a spot zoning then, is what we're doing? Is this just an original piece of land that there's a residence on now that we're looking for the person to subdivide land, and we're changing just that small area from rural to rural or to residential infill? Is that what the amendment is doing?
Director Shorts, could you confirm that?
It may appear as such. what I understand is, so it's just on the edge of the location map that's part of the report, is that a little bit north of the along Boleyn line, the rural, residential infill zone kind of continues, and there's a wetland in between. And what I understand is that under a next like plan review, this would actually be changed to, there's been a residence on that property for quite some time, and so this would kind of actually bring the existing use in line with the designation, and then there's the addition of one additional property. So in effect, it may look like that, but the residential infill zoning kind of continues on the along Boleyn line in that area. So this is almost like the remnant southernmost portion towards the river there. Does that answer your question?
So I guess the residential infill can't occupy any more territory than it does at the present time once this amendment goes through.
Correct, on the north of the river. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, sorry, I was a bit confused. So, what's the impact on the river, on the
None.
conservation? There's none, right? Okay, so the drawing's a little weird. So what we're saying is just rezone this from rural piece of land to residential infill.
Yep.
And the potential negative impacts are, other than just, like I said, spot zoning.
So the current house is in a rural zone, right? It's not in a residential zone?
Correct. So, I mean, normally if there wasn't other areas of residential infill, it would be considered spot zoning. So I wouldn't have recommended proceeding with that. But there's basically continuous residential infill zoning continuing north along Boleyn line. From a consideration perspective, the biggest issue is the adjacent farm to the south. So the development regulations require that the town consults with the Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources in terms of anything that's closer than 330 meters from a farm, and this is closer than that. So the matter was referred out to 3-4 different departments: water resources and agriculture, land management, and environmental science division, and they all came back and generally had no objection to it, subject to making sure that there's like an agreement signed that people aren't going to complain in the future about there being farm odors or farm noise, and once there's a building there, that people don't start complaining about the farm next door, so that whoever is developing this particular dwelling and subdividing the land, that they're aware of that and buying into it conscientiously.
Right, yeah, just like I said though, if you go to page, what page is this? Page 52 or whatever, like it's going to be just one little spot of residential infill surrounded. Why not? There's a residential right there. It's going to be surrounded on sides by rural and the farm, but like I said, it's just very close to residential infill on the north side. Okay. Yep.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. I'll go back to page 35 now. Item 4 is our permit listings. Background attached are permit listings for the period of March 22nd to April 1st, 2021, which form part of this motion. Recommendation is the committee hereby tables the following motion. Motion is presented to accept permit listings for the period of March 22nd to April 1st, 2021, as presented. So moved.
Second.
Word seconder. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. And I'll just a brief rundown of our March 30th meeting, which was on Zoom. We started at 6:45 p.m. and we ended at 10:30 p.m. Myself, Councillor Thorin Goss, Deputy Mayor, and was there for part of the meeting, and Director Short was also in attendance. We just discussed Kennedy's Brook and Marathon Holdings. We also discussed under long-term planning Bernice Drive amendment, and we just discussed our 615 Baldwin Line amendment. We also discussed water allocation update, and there's some information in there as well where we are with that. Complaint management policy, we deferred that given our time. And climate change action plan review, that was also deferred to next week. We also went over our municipal enforcement protective services report, number 6, to March 22nd. Deputy Mayor left at 9:18. And we are revamping our municipal enforcement protocol, whereas on a go-forward basis, we'd like to see the preparation of daily logs, so we have a better control of and understanding what's being done on a daily basis with our municipal enforcement initiatives. We had some correspondence there from the Conservation Corps of Newfoundland. 2021 Green Team application was successful, and we also discussed the Community Garden, Torbay Common Habitat Management. We also discussed a Ducks Unlimited initiative, request for collaboration, suggested sites by the Torbay Environment Advisory Committee. We also discussed a letter of March 23rd from Headwaters of Logie Bay Middle Cove Outer Cove. That was a request for collaboration with Logie Bay Middle Cove Outer Cove, St. John's and Airport Ground, waterways and wetlands. We also had a land inquiry by an owner regarding walkway development. And then we discussed our permit listings and action items, and our next meeting is next Thursday, April 13th at 5:30 p.m. for any members that would like to participate, and that ends my report.
All right, thank you. Any questions? I have one comment, and I'll just pass it on to Director. The Ducks Unlimited initiative. The Holy Trinity High School is a Ducks Unlimited something of excellence. I know I was there a couple of years ago and we presented them with an award. They're a Centre of Excellence with Ducks Unlimited. They have a partnership, so it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to reach out to the high school too to see if they want to be included. All right.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much. Moving on. Admin and Finance. Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. I won't keep you very long on this, I hope, although you never know the way things go. We met last week, myself, Deputy Mayor, and Director Kudla. There's only one set of motions here, actually, plus the one that I added on at the beginning. So first is the approval of invoices over $5,000. The first one is to Diligent Canada for the council meeting software in the amount of $7,814.31, and Triware for their communication support in the amount of $5,750 for a total of $13,564.31. So moved.
Second.
Is there a seconder? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The addition to the meeting, Your Worship, centers around the holdback that we have relating to the community center, and we've held back $115,000 mainly because of a deficiency related to the splash pad. There are other deficiencies that we do note now that really are warranty work that need to be done as well. So the motion is this, that the town release the $115,000 relating to holdback for splash pad repairs, replacing this dollar value with a performance bond to cover the deficiencies. So moved.
Second.
Mover and seconder, questions?
So if I can speak to that, in terms of, we've had an ongoing, since really, I guess, September of last year, we've had ongoing discussions and I guess, spats, for lack of a better word, I guess, with the construction person over the legal methodology in terms of how we go about holding someone's feet to the fire in terms of get repairs done. We've had the lawyer involved for quite some time on this now, and between them and the lawyer for the construction group, they come back and said, listen, we're willing to do the work, we just want to take our money and replace it with a bond. The bond is due to run Supposed to start the 1st of May, I think, and runs to the middle of June for the splash pad repairs to be done. If failing that, if it's not done by that period of time, then we can call on the bond and essentially have the work done under that bond, and that bond expires in October. So the period of time gives us a lot of time to act on it should we have. Is it a little more cumbersome? Probably. And I know Deputy Mayor is against it, and that's why I had to bring it to this meeting, because I was willing to bring it forward based on conversations I had with legal. Still not a fond lover of it. I still think that the company should come and do the work, period. But after conversations with legal, this is not really the way to go. There are dispute resolution opportunities or methodologies written into contracts, and that's the way we should really go from an operational perspective, although once again, it's not my preferred. I don't know why they just don't come in and do the work. So I figure if I say that enough times, they just come in and do the work, and I get away. So, I'm willing to release it on that basis of that, good faith, and not to prolong. If we get into an argument, we'll be a summer without the splash pad, and who knows how much longer. If we get somebody else to come in and do the work at this point in time, there's going to be questions on warranty as to who did the work, and no, it's not my fault, this is the other person's fault. Hence, I want this contractor to come in and do the work now rather than have to go through this process. And I'm bringing it forward that we recommend $115,000 release at this point in time for conversion to a performance bond.
Okay. Anybody else have a comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, again, we did talk about this at our committee of the whole meeting. But again, you see, when we're promised infrastructure and people are going to go and build stuff for us, there's always disputes, right? This is an important thing. That's why we hold back money. That's why we have those details. And again, this is a good example of, hey, they owe us some work, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that work is done. As, we're going to have performance. We're going to have a bond. We have a start date. We have an end date. We know exactly how the person putting in the infrastructure knows what it's going to cost, and they've got a deposit down. So we know that if for whatever reason happens, then we have that money to go forward, put towards that project and its completion, right? And that's the thing. There's no undue delays and stuff like that. Like you said, anytime you get into stuff that's a bit wishy-washy and you have some back and forth, and so I know we all want to get this done, and we're all make sure we, again, different ways of keeping feet to the fire. But the important thing is we have legal opinion, and we have specific numbers that's tied to the work and completion dates and everything. So again, I'm in favor of this. Obviously, there's 6.5 dozen ways you can go about this, but the fact that we did do some consultation with our lawyers, and this seems to be the best way forward. So I'm in support of this.
Okay. Anyone else? I think I would echo your comments and Councillor Pollard's. At the end of the day, the town we had to pay our bills, and the developer did come forward last year and do temporary repairs to the splash pad so that we could use it last summer. I know that it was probably a little later than that we wanted, but I think that we held our ground with regards to wanting the repairs done. We did agree to get it done to satisfaction so we could use it last year. They did identify that there's potential more work that could be done to more of a long-term thing, which I would assume there's also warranty associated with it. So, in every deal, there's two sides. So we have to hold up our side, I think, and hopefully the contractor, they'll hold up their side, and at the end of the day, we'll all be happy. So anyway, anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And that essentially ends my report, and I certainly don't want to finish it up that quickly, other than the fact that time has passed, and there's a lot of work goes into each one of these meetings, and thanks to Director Kudla, it seems like we sit down and talk about a few motions, and I don't speak to all the reports that are attached, and there's numerous reports, and I strongly encourage both the public and council to actually go through these reports, because it gives detail of every project we're presently doing at the present time, the status of all our monies from a grant perspective, and where we stand in terms of any tenders that were done and partial payments, or where we stand in terms of gas tax projects and things of that nature. So it's a great package of information, and I'm certainly not diminishing it by not going through all the individual details of it. But anybody who wants to, the information is there in depth, and we're available to answer any questions on it at any point in time. And so that's my report, Your Worship.
All right, thank you. And I would echo what you say. We put more information in our council package than most, and it's a lot of really good information there. If people ever want to go and see, you can track every nickel that we spend in them reports, and the progress of everything that we're doing. So I think it's I'm really proud of the work that we've done in terms of how much information we put out for the public. And if anybody ever has any questions or anything like that, go on the website, get all the information you need. If you don't have internet and you don't have email, you can always request this information from the town, and we're more than happy to give it to you. And with that said, thank you.
I've got one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Councillor Potter, I noticed there was no minutes here for a HR meeting. Has there been one?
There's never any minutes for HR meetings.
A reference of a meeting? There should be a reference of a date and time. Okay. Is there any on the horizon?
None scheduled at this point in time.
Okay.
It's sort of a, I shouldn't say that, there's no committee meeting scheduled at this sort of time, but there's day-to-day follow-up being done from an HR perspective.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Council.
Okay. Economic development and tourism.
Thank Councillor Grant.
Oh, did you have a question? Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm probably out of order, so please shut me down, but just following on to the HR stuff, it would be, I know there's lots of stuff going day to day, but I think it would be very valuable if we had, consistent meetings and recommendations and stuff like that, just kind of to formalize things as opposed to kind of ad hoc. It makes it a lot easier for the rest of council to follow along with what's happening, the status of everything.
Yeah. Point, thank you. All right. Economic development and tourism, Councilor Martin.
Thank you. Also, thank you, Mayor, for filling in for me at that meeting. I wasn't in attendance, but I'll go down through the minutes as Deputy Mayor's not here. March 25th from 6 to 7. Mayor Scott attended as ex officio. Ms. Lawrence was our EDTO, and Deputy Mayor Appleby was committee chair. Items discussed were the economic development, the economic and the planning and development department will be meeting to discuss topics on land use development opportunities. There's also some discussion of the Pickle Ridge Memorial Project update, as well as Voisey's Brook, and a phased approach for 2 memorials with the potential subdual trade development. The Economic Development Officer will be attending the upcoming NOIA Vision and Mandate consultation session. I'll be interested to see what comes back from there. And they'll also be distributed internally with our town's directors. Business awards has been an ongoing discussion, but the nominees seem to have been received in the fall and announced in April, with the winners of each category announced at an upcoming council meeting. More details to come. The Portugal Coast St. Philip's Chamber Partnership. The Economic Development Officer met with the Executive Director and President of the Chamber about a potential expansion to include Torbay. We also discussed our roadmap committee, as well as the Torbay online market in light of the coronavirus would likely be online again. Under tourism, there was some filming at Torbay discussed, as well as community requests from the Folk Arts Council to discuss their upcoming plans for performances within the community. Garden tourism, the Economic Development Officer will continue conversations and potential collaboration on the initiative with the town of Bay Roberts. She's a counterpart of theirs she's working with. Under culture and heritage, the History House public conversation session number 1 session was held on March 19 with a total of 8 people in attendance, and that session was recorded. And the presentation and presentative and scribed Q&As will be uploaded to mytorbay.ca, announced to the public to visit the site to review. Those channels include the Torbay's Facebook page as well as Twitter and mytorbay.ca under History House info, and the Torbay Alerts newsletter emailed to recipients. As a follow-up to a council motion, a second History House conversation session will be scheduled for those interested between April 14th and 16th. This will be the same presentation as March 19th. Advertising will be 1.5 to 2 weeks, followed by registration. So anyone that is interested in attending that, this will be a prime opportunity. History House governing model, that was also discussed, a timeline for information presented to council, and that second public conversation session toward the end of April, early May. Additionally, the Economic Development Officer will be on annual leave from the 2nd to 11th, so the committee discussed rescheduling their meeting. And the next business bulletin e-newsletter will focus on the adopted economic strategic roadmap, expected to be released sometime this month. And it looks like their meeting was adjourned at 7 p.m. and there is a copy of the Torbay Economic Strategic Roadmap Engagement Strategy attached.
All right, thank you. Just one comment, I guess. The History House presentation that we had on March 19th was a really good session. I think might have been an hour and a half. I think that we spent there discussing variations of where we're to with the History House and where it's going to be going. That presentation presently is on the town website. If you missed that session, please, if you want, you can go on there and look at the whole thing. It's going to be the exact same thing on April 14th to 16th. If you have any questions, after looking at it, you can send them in. Maybe we can, if we don't have any bodies, if there's some people that look at the 19th one, and, we could potentially avoid having to do a second one if we don't have to. And, feel free to go on that one. If you have any questions, and send them on. So, other than that, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Infrastructure, Public Works, Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Certainly hope that my colleague, Councillor Thorngast, is feeling better, so I'll try to do justice to the report that she chairs, so no one will point fingers in that direction. Unlike HR, which I chair, by the way, so, I can take that. Did I say that? Sorry. Okay, so anyway, we met on the 31st of March, myself and Councillor Thorngast and Director Winter and Mayor Scott joined us. Actually, we had a lengthy meeting. We talked about a lot of things, and once again, it's while it mightn't be reflected in motions, it's certainly reflected in information that's here and the potential conversations you can get into throughout the course of the day. Anyway, the first one is the History House project, and there's a motion here to award the exhibitive and interpretive scope implementation phase of the project to Reclaim Design Studio in the amount of $70,000 plus HST. The team will be responsible to deliver a full museum with all exhibit and interpretive materials installed. All costs associated with the scope have been budgeted within the allocated monies as defined by the COA, and the whole arrangement around that. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions?
I just want to say that, that this is a continuation of the design package that was done by the same company, and now they're going to just take that and move it forward so that it actually ends out a completed project at the end of it all, so we can essentially walk into rooms that are finished and reflect the design process that they had awarded on tender.
All right, sounds good. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
We went through a list of what we usually deal with, and there's a few points, I guess, that seem to come up all the time that I will address. The stormwater management plan implementation, that's still on the high list of projects to be done, and PEC's in the process of doing the engineering work design around the Skipper's Landing, and that should hopefully be starting in early spring. The sidewalk project tender is going to be ready for the end of April. So we look forward to getting that up and running, and I'm sure everyone will be happy once we get the sidewalks in place. We were, and as part of finance as well, everyone, I don't know if everyone knows now, but our gas tax this year is going to be doubled, and that may allow us to do some additional roadwork project, and I know some Dunphy's Lane came up in terms of conversation. Not saying that's going to be a motion at this point in time, but it's going to be some consideration once we get the final wording, and we have to come back to council anyway to add that on, but I'm not trying to corner council into doing anything with that particular money, although I may just have, but anyway, that's that will come back, but I'm just letting you know that we did discuss that, and Dunphy's Lane is high on our list of priorities, be it this funding or some other funding once we decide, or once we know what the funding is available. Trail development, we're all very committed to trail development. I know Councillor Glant, I'll steal his thunder now before he jumps in and starts saying anything, so I'll just say, yeah, it's high on the list of priorities. There is a conversation here that we should proceed with the next phase of the Forest River Road down to Bypass Road. We discussed it. I think that needs to really be a motion to council. I think that should come back so we can have some discussion around that. There is some, I think that's the money that's available for this year. At least we'll get part of that done, if not all of it. But I think while we sort of recommended it there, it didn't come back as a motion. So I'm going to bring that back to committee so we can discuss further, and then bring back so the council can make the correct decision and vote on it. Other than that, there's the Great Pond Water Study, the emergency preparedness plan, all the contacts that have been updated in there, and I know we're probably late in our tenure now to do anything with it, so it'll probably be next council before we sit down and have that tabletop exercise. And so ends my report, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any questions? I do know that we did talk about the water treatment at North Pond. I know that since the development notice for 51 North Pond went out, we've received a lot of, I guess, communications from residents in that area telling us about water pressures and things that I know myself personally I was not that aware of. So I just want to stress the importance to people, and I do this all the time, that if you're having an issue, please report it in so that we are aware, and that, I think it's important that we can identify throughout the town areas where we potentially may have issues that us as members of council might not be aware of. I know that we do have issues with low water pressure in at the end of the line on Indomie line. That's something that I was aware of before, but I wasn't necessarily aware here, and or that it was as widespread as it seems. So I think that just once we start getting communications from residents that inform us of these things, it's very good. And then it motivates us, or at least it alerts us to the fact that there's an issue in a particular area, something that now we need to put on our radar to see if there's a solution that we can find or a reason for something like that happening. So I just wanted to stress that. And that is that. All right. Recreation and Community Services. Councillor Glant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a Recreation and Community Services Committee meeting update. So basically, Earth Day is coming up on April 22nd, and basically staff was meeting, trying to figure out what's the best way to, how the town of Torbay would celebrate, and basically some of the things he came up with was tree planting, in summary. So we've got a bunch of spruce seedlings, and it takes about 6 weeks to grow, and during the 6 weeks, town of Torbay will have an online contest asking residents to submit a picture or a short story as to why they like to plant trees, right? And basically, once the seedlings are ready to plant, the town's going to contact the participants and have them help plant the seedlings all around Torbay. So that's a really cool thing. And the Earth Day is April 22nd, by the way. I got mixed up in the meeting date before I was reading. I was like, what? April 22nd, of course, is Earth Day. And also community recreation programming events. April is Dental Hygiene Month. and some other news that, some renters are actually starting to return to the Torbay Common. Easter programming had occurred, and if you have any questions or want any information with regards to upcoming events, they can all be found on our website. And I won't bother to go into the detail.
All right.
Other than check out the website, and I've been assured it's all there.
Thank you. I guess I just got, anybody have any comments on any of that before I do?
I just wanted to
ahead,
add to
Councillor Roach.
what you were saying, dear councillor. It would be great if the seedlings could be ready to be planted on Earth Day. That's not possible, I suppose, this year, is it?
I'm not sure that if they're going to be ready in time or not. We currently have 50. Seedlings would take roughly 6 weeks to grow.
Oh.
So it doesn't look like they're going to be 100% ready for Earth Day itself.
All right, to that point, which is a good one, I got an email the other day, or an email correspondence from Ross Thornhill, president of the Lions Club. And the Lions Club have seedlings or trees that they would like to plant. I know they've been in contact with the Director of Public Works, so maybe we might be able to link up the Lions Club with the Recreation Department and Public Works, and maybe we can get some trees from them. Julia, you know something about that?
Yeah, so the intent is that they get handed out now, the seedlings, and then that there be a planting during Environment Week in June, I think.
Yeah, first week of June, I think.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Right.
good.
Okay. I just wanted to put on everybody's radar that the Lions Club have an
Yes.
environmental thing that they do, and part of this is with trees, so
Ask them to reach out for sure.
they did. So we'll, I know that we're a bit crunched on stuff right now, so hopefully Director Winter will be able to make some inquiries with them. All right, thank you very much. Oh, and one other thing that I would like to mention, just because people might be expecting it, I know that we're looking at changing for the short term our events calendar, right, Ann? Just because of the uncertainty with COVID, putting out a calendar for 3 months or 4 months really is, it could be a waste of time, and certainly it could be a waste of money. So, we're going to do shorter periods, and hopefully, as long as we're still in COVID situation, something that wouldn't take us so much time to have to adapt to if we have to make changes, right? So, I know that last time when we closed up things, my hand was wore out signing refund checks for programs that people had signed up for in advance, and it's beyond our control, and we're going to take things a little shorter periods at a time. It's just for
You're going to put it on our website that
Oh,
you're
yeah,
going to
certainly.
do that we're going to be doing that, would you? Because people be coming and
Oh, yeah.
wasting gas coming down the road to register when things are not going on, and then, we don't want to turn them away. So that'd be a good idea too.
Yep.
Keep them up to date.
Okay, thank you. Now, number 2, liaison committees. Atlantic Mayor's Congress, I keeps forgetting to do it, but I guess we had a meeting, and we determined, I'm an executive, and we determined we were going to cancel the May 2020 meeting in Torbay, and we're proposing that we do May 2022. May 2021 we're canceling, and we're going to propose to do May 2022. So I'm going to give notice of motion right now that in the next council package, I'll bring that forward, that the town will gladly host in 2022, once this COVID stuff is behind us, hopefully. And so that's the update from that. Intergovernmental affairs, I kind of gave an update earlier on the post office, so I think that would fall under that heading, but I did it under my mayor's report. Jackburn Regional, Councillor Pollard, any update?
No, nothing since last time, Your Worship. No.
All right,
We
thank you
haven't
very
met.
much. Northeast Avalon Joint Council, I know they've been meeting a lot. Councillor Thorngoss is not here tonight, but I'm sure she'll give us an update next meeting. The RNC, I don't really have an update there. I know, I'm hoping that our next meeting is going to be soon. I was in contact with with Chief Boland last week on a few things, and regard to, some safety issues throughout the town, and make sure that we're still on the radar, and things don't fall off. I know they don't. Those guys are working really hard, and I think that the increased presence of the traffic patrol within our town, and certainly within all of our towns around here, is a lot of people are noticing it. So it seems to be working good now, but we still need to bring these issues to that committee so we can get them addressed. So if anybody sees things, please report them directly to the RNC, and also please send them into the town so that I'm aware as the member of that committee, and our planning director is aware, so that when she goes to the meeting, she knows that she has these items that she'd like to bring. So please continue to do that. Torbay Volunteer Fire Department, Councillor Martin.
Thank you. The last meeting was on March 29th. The next one's on April 12th. I did attend the last meeting, and there were a total of 4 calls, 1 request to assist, 1 vehicle fire, 1 electrical fire, 1 wire down, and that was held on Zoom. And that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you. UMC, I don't have anything to report there right now. I would imagine that in the next month or so, we'll be looking to plan our next meeting and see where we go from there. I know that M&L convention, AGM and symposium is coming up in May, and I would encourage everyone to sign up for that. I know that we can get some matching funds from the government to cover off some of the costs. Probably for the most of us, we'll be able to almost go there for free, and it's a good opportunity. It's online. It's been sent out. I'll ask Anne to circulate the invite to all the council.
That'd be nice.
It's a really good opportunity. Plus, our AGM is actually taking place at the symposium, so there's going to be board positions that are going to be up for election, as well as resolution session that's going to be required for voting and stuff. So, it's all important stuff, and these are the things that we do for advocating. And with that in mind, I did see a notice today that Marine Atlantic agreed to roll back the increase in rates.
Great.
So, I mean, that, to me, that is an example of, we work with our MP and and M&L and our surrounding towns, and we all advocated sending letters for that. And I'm not saying that's the reason they did it, but it certainly doesn't help. If nobody says
Doesn't
anything,
hurt.
then they continue on as normal, right? And so that's that. Well, that was the last thing that came out of a UMC, kind of loops in there. No notice of motion except for the one that I just gave a minute ago. New business, Councillor Glant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I just want to take a quick opportunity here now to say thanks about some little things, and I think one of the positive things that council's been doing the last little while. Obviously, there's been lots on the go with COVID, and we're doing remote meetings, and of course, there's always controversial stuff that we got to talk about. And anyway, I just want to send out this week's bouquet to you, Mr. Mayor. Just showing some good leadership behind the scenes. A lot of people don't see it right now. Not that they don't see it right now, but I mean things they don't see at the at the public meetings. And we don't always agree on stuff, and I actually appreciate that. But you've been behind the scenes. You've been doing some really, I thought, showing some real good leadership. You're doing some good mirroring. So I just want to send the weekly bouquet your way this week.
Thank you.
So, good job, man.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Councillor Pollard, pass. Councillor Roach, pass. Councillor Martin.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to take a brief moment and congratulate MHA-elect Jody Wall on his recent success in the provincial election, and also recognise MHA Parsons, outgoing MHA, for his years of service. And I also wanted to mention Ryan Lane, Phyllis Fleming and Peter Whittle for placing their names forward and contributing to a democratic process. I know we've all been there and done it, and it's not easy, and especially being on that end. So good to all them for their time and effort and their teams, and hopefully we all look forward to working with MHA elect Wall.
Right, that it? And I think that we'd all echo those sentiments.
Yes,
Justin, thank you
yes.
for bringing them up.
I forgot about the election.
I mean,
It's so long.
well,
So, yeah, congratulations.
I think a lot of people forgot about the election. It was a long election from the time that it started till when it was over. But I too congratulate Jody on his victory, and look forward to working with him and trying to, you know, advance our town and the surrounding towns in this district. I'd also like to thank our staff over the last. Over this last year, has been really. You know what? It's been a struggle on a bunch of different, different ways. You know, physically, mentally, you're trying to work, deal with COVID. You know, and it's you're trying to deal with your home life too. With your kid. A lot of us got kids in school and grandkids and whatever. You know, it hasn't been easy for anybody, and I think that. I just want to say thank you to everybody, and Jacqueline, Julia, all the rest of the staff that are not here, that are probably home waiting to see if we said something wrong. But, you guys do excellent work on behalf of the residents in the town, and we're here to support you along the way. And hopefully we do that. If we're not doing it, let us know, and certainly we'll try and do our best. Ann, do we have any questions? There are none. All right. Now, where am I on my agenda? Next public council meeting is scheduled to take place April 19th, 2021 at 6:30 right here in the Torbay Council Chambers. And I just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Moved, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried.